So, Tokyo Ghoul tells the story of an 18-year-old named Ken Kaneki who finds himself caught in a never-ending conflict between those of his kind, who can be called humans, and beings named ghouls, also humans who share emotion, fear, and dark impulses, but who possess a hunger for human flesh that determines the survival of their kind. Kaneki meets a girl with the same age named Rize, who he has a crush for, after both discover they share a common love for books and an author's works in a seemingly regular cafe by the name of Anteko. But things aren't as they seem, as the woman Kaneki goes on a date with unveils her true motives and grim nature, answering the question as to why ghouls are as feared as they are in this fictional world, hiding in the shadows amongst their natural enemy. And yet fate holds more for Ken Kaneki than it initially lets on, as an incident occurs and prevents the ghoul Rize from meeting him, opening a new future where Ken is transformed into a half-ghoul, initiating a long-spanning tale of tragedy. That being said, Tokyo Ghoul has been the target of a lot of confusion by the part of newcomers who are now only getting to experience the story for the first time, particularly through its anime adaptation. Seasons with unnecessary plot holes, breaks in continuity, relevant and necessary information, key scenes and character development omitted, have plagued the minds of numerous upcoming and even well-established fans. So by your consent, I've decided to give my own 2 cents on the matter and explain the reason why that is. Allow me to explain to whoever's curious about this series and wants to experience it for the first time and take away the most out of it, how to get. As of the time of this recording, there have been movies, anime series, OVAs, video games, and light novels that have told this tale and expanded upon it in many different forms. But none, in my opinion, have been able to live up to the promise and impeccable way of telling the same story as the manga series that started it all as. Like many, I too began this journey by watching the 2014 anime adaptation of the same name, produced by Studio Pierrot and directed by a man called Shuei Morita. I watched the 2 first seasons, at the time no third season announced yet in the later form of Re. I enjoyed what I'd seen, and as I later found out, there was a manga series still being published that took a different route from the one in the second season of the anime, that being Rure. I started to read it from the beginning, highlighting the differences, highlighting various scenes that were missing, distinct paths for characters that were absent in its counterpart. It was like I was experiencing a brand new story, full of exciting possibilities. I got to rediscover it in a whole new exciting and refreshing way. Its more superficial elements were still intact, but there was a whole aspect to it full of meaning and symbolism that was yet to be explored. At that moment, it didn't really matter which way you consumed the series, regardless of you reading the manga first and watching the anime after, or the other way around. They were two sides of the same coin that did for the most part the same thing, only difference was the way they got there through plot, stylistic form, or the manner of setting a tone that you could enjoy on your own terms. I was never one to reject any form of adaptation from its source material. All art and its many assets are unique and require a different treatment. They add or exclude whatever is necessary when reinterpreting another form of expression, whether it is a book, a film, and in this case a long-running manga. The anime should change and add elements to benefit its medium, and not adapt something faithfully all the way through when the latter has been done by the author of the source material inside the confines of its own setting. And yet, despite me hating the common phrase that is constantly thrown by manga readers, in this case in particular, like another dark fantasy, I have to agree. Tokyo Ghoul Re followed the sequel to the manga series, both dismissing and acknowledging the new canon established in the previous season at the same time. Before, there had been things that were changed or shortened, but for the most part, the logic and the events established made sense. The reason why this process didn't work anymore was due to the fact the ending and events of the second half of part 1 from the manga, in the anime's case season two's content, played out drastically different. When you start Re in the manga, it's still somewhat confusing to understand what exactly is going on. Similarly to Attack on Titan's 4-year timeskip, but eventually most of the pieces are put together much faster and consistently due to Sui Ishida's firm grip on the way he wants to lead the story. Matters become dire for the anime adaptation when key scenes and arcs between characters are changed in the show, and suddenly forgotten to accommodate the transition between the canon of the anime and the canon of the manga. The way it's constructed is as if Rude never existed, and you're obligated to read the portion of the manga that takes place after the end of the first season until you catch up to the adaptation of Re. Relevant scenes that don't affect negatively the overall story that the anime is adapting and also serve the medium well are cut out, something that worsens drastically in part 2 of Re, where entire motivations and backstories for characters are omitted, and prominent traits that on the surface may seem like minor details that have no effect on the overarching plot, but are crucial to know since they add context to most of the characters' actions and consequences for other prominent players in the story. Tokyo Ghoul as an anime relies heavily on its manga counterpart to make sense of what's transpiring in the story, something that, unlike what I've mentioned before, an adaptation should never do. It can serve as a tactic for anime-only viewers to give the manga a try, but at the same time, it risks ruining one's first exposure to an otherwise fairly easy story to follow. Especially for anime-onlys, I truly think you should give the manga a chance and experience Tokyo Ghoul through the author's original vision. I know immediately after I just said this, you probably want to turn off the video. And I get it. I really do. Even if you do find enjoyment in the anime, so much depth and care is missing. The attention to detail that compels you to go back and read it again, just so you add more context and meaning. Every reread is a brand new experience, and it's all thanks to Sui Ishida's mindful writing and unique visual storytelling. The art might not be as strong early on in comparison to later volumes, but there's no denying the emotion behind some of its paneling and perfect blend of beauty and rage in his art style. So much is conveyed in its visuals, and not just in its written form. So many powerful lines and symbolism and character development are lost that make the series so much more powerful and gut-wrenching. And it will be a huge shame to give up on all of that just because reading is boring. If there is something that Tokyo Ghoul isn't, is boring. Even if you watch the anime already and you find a waste of time going back to it because of a fear of repeating the same beats all over again, you'll find surprising how different of an experience reading the manga will be from the latter. I enjoy the anime. I still find a lot of enjoyment from it despite a lot of its faults, which is why I don't just recommend you to read the manga. I recommend you to read the manga first, but I also wish you go see what the anime has to offer, and how much it might mean to you. It's your choice, and your choice alone, to decide which version in the end you prefer, and no one, especially not me, can take that away from you. I guess it's all about the order you decide to consume first. Most of the many forms Tokyo Ghoul has been remade as, given context and added backstory and information. With that, we reach the end of the video. Thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel, thank you for dropping by, and if you're curious about seeing more or by keeping up to date with the most recent releases, drop by the main page or follow my Instagram account. Links in the description. Stay safe and well. I'll see you in the next one. Ja, mata ne.